the rebel's long sword pressed against both my neck and my widowed sister's, forcing my husband to choose between us. Mother wept, begging him to choose my sister. He glanced in my direction, then pointed at her. Take her. The rebel chuckled wickedly, but instead of releasing us, he shoved me straight off the cliff. In my dying moments, I thought I heard my husband's agonized roar, but none of it mattered anymore. Fong Wanqing, your sister bears a child while widowed. Her fate is bitter. This prince cannot abandon her. Fong Wanqing, Yuner is your sister. She is frail and ill. What cannot you yield to her? Fong Wanqing, even if you resemble Yuner, you will never be her. I gazed at Zhou Yu with a bitter smile. Even as he uttered those cruel words, his face remained as smooth as jade, just as it had been when I first met him. At 14, I fell into the water by accident. It was Zhou Yu who saved me. From that moment, my heart was lost to him. Later, when the emperor arranged our marriage, I was so overjoyed I couldn't sleep for nights. Yet, though I had cherished him for 3 whole years, it took only 3 days for my secret affection to turn to bitter disappointment. I never knew he loved my sister. Had I known, I would have begged the emperor to annul the betrothal with all my strength. But no one told me. Zhou Yu treated me exceptionally well from the moment our engagement was set. He had a reserved nature and never sought female companionship. All knew Prince Yu kept himself pure, with eyes for no one but his betrothed. And so I was, bit by bit, sinking deeper and deeper. At 17, I rode in the crimson bridal sedan chair to the Yu Prince's mansion. That night, I lay in his arms, shy and timid, yet filled with joy, until, at the peak of passion, I heard the name Yunqing. My blood ran cold. Yunqing was my sister's name. I looked back at Zhou Yu. His eyes were still hazy as he gazed at me, yet his lips kept murmuring Yunqing. He had drunk heavily, likely unable to distinguish who stood before him now. I once believed he cherished me, but now I see he gazed through me at another. Recalling the past, the day I fell into the water was the very day my eldest sister was betrothed to the 5th prince. That evening, our entire family attended a banquet in the palace. I wandered off mischievously and accidentally fell into the water. Zhou Yu wasn't present in the hall then, likely because he didn't wish to witness Fong Yongqing's betrothal. Right. I thought Zhou Yu liked me, or at the very least sought the marriage decree to protect my reputation. But now I see it was all for Fong Yunqing. On the 3rd day of my post-wedding visit, no one was home, so I couldn't return to my family's residence. My parents said they had urgent business outside the city. I couldn't fathom what could be more important than my daughter's return visit unless it was Fong Yunqing. Sure enough, a month later, a letter arrived from home saying they had returned and summoned us back. Zhou Yu brought numerous gifts, insisting that as the son-in-law, his first visit after the wedding deserved solemnity. But how could it be for me? Sure enough, I saw Fong Yunqing. She wore mourning robes, looking pitifully delicate. After marrying the 5th prince, she had returned to their fiefdom. I knew the 5th prince had passed away a month prior, right after our wedding. The 5th prince's mother was of low birth, and consequently, he himself was not favored. When he passed, the imperial court showed little reaction, as if he had never existed. So it turned out my parents hadn't attended my newlywed visit home. Instead, they had gone out of the city to fetch Fong Yunqing. But I clearly remembered that imperial consorts were required to observe mourning. I have no idea what means my parents employed to bring Fong Yunqing back safely. But Zhou Yu must have been involved in the negotiations. I am newlywed. It should be a joyous occasion, yet now Fong Yunqing's recent widowhood casts a gloom over everything. My parents have always favored my elder sister, and now they have no time for me. I glanced at Zhou Yu again. His usually composed face now bore visible emotion. I could tell it was heartache. His eyes lingered unabashedly on Fong Yunqing, while my parents bustled about attending to her. Sigh. I rose and left the house. After all, the deceased must be honored. Fong Yunqing was newly widowed, It wouldn't be right for the whole family to be merry at such a time. I comforted myself with this thought. Though truthfully, I'd long grown accustomed to being overlooked. I heard that on the day I was born. My father and brothers were ambushed by bandits. My father was gravely wounded, and my 7-year-old elder brother perished. From that day on, I bore the stigma of being a bringer of misfortune. Even my mother scarcely spared me a glance. I was raised by my grandmother, but when I turned 12, she passed away from illness, leaving me utterly alone and destitute. Grandmother always said her Wan was the finest girl, worthy of the world's best man, but she never got the chance to plan for me. Footsteps approached from behind, and I quickly wiped away my tears. Zhou voice softened considerably. Worried about your sister, are you? Worried. Truthfully, I wasn't. Zhou probably felt had been a bit harsh earlier, so now he was trying to soothe me. Seeing my displeasure, he made a move to embrace me. I took half a step back. Your Highness, I'm rather tired and wish to retire. Without waiting for his response, I turned and left. Truth be told, I felt quite unwell. Scent of perfumes on him was making me nauseous. I'd planned to leave after dinner, but Mother unexpectedly asked us to stay the night. She even chatted with me intimately until late, lecturing me on sisterly devotion, how to serve my husband and raise children. How to please my lord. Every word was about what I should do. Yet I remembered her telling Fang Yunqing before, if you're unhappy, write to your mother. They'll find a way to bring you home. By the time I emerged from Mother's chambers, it was late. The maid informed me Zhou was still in Father's study and suggested I retire first. But my mind was too troubled. I dismissed the maid and decided to walk alone. Passing the rockery, I faintly heard voices. Thinking it was a maid, I intended to take a detour, but before I could step away, a familiar male voice suddenly reached my ears. Yunqing. I froze abruptly. That was Zhou voice, his voice, almost lost in passion, stealing my nerves. I retreated a step and concealed myself among the rockery's foliage. The moonlight tonight was exceptionally bright. Through the crevices of the rock, I saw Fang Yunqing and Zhou clearly. Both were disheveled. Fang Yunqing was held tightly in Zhou's embrace. Fang Yunqing sobbed, her voice filled with anguish. She kept repeating how she had betrayed her sister and wondered how she could ever live with herself. Zhou gritted his teeth, declaring this punishment was deserved for how easily she always disrupted his heart. So he never truly loved me after all. But if that's the case, why did he marry me? I could have stepped back. I never wanted to interfere between them, never. Clatter. I dislodged a pebble from the rock face. The stone hit the ground, and Zhou snapped alert. Who's there? As he spoke, he wrapped Fang Yunqing in his outer robe. He cherished her as if she were a precious pearl. And I was merely a stubborn rock on this mountainside. I calmed my mind and stepped out from behind the rockery. Zhou's face betrayed unprecedented panic at my sudden appearance. Wanqing, what are you doing here? My gaze fixed on him. Zhou, the fifth prince's body isn't even cold yet. Don't you fear retribution for this? Wanqing. Seeing Zhou's distress, Fang Yunqing hurried forward. Wanqing, don't blame the prince. We simply couldn't help ourselves. Smack. Before Fang Yunqing could finish, I raised my hand and struck her across the face. I struck with full force, leaving a bloody mark on Fang Yunqing's fair cheek, the result of me secretly twisting the ring. Fang Yunqing screamed in agony. Zhou, now truly panicked, shoved me away. Fang Wanqing, have you lost your mind? Thud. My body fell uncontrollably to the floor. Immediately, a sharp, sinking pain gripped my lower abdomen. Blood stained my skirt crimson. Through a haze, I overheard Mother and the physician conversing. He said the third young miss was frail and must rest thoroughly after this miscarriage, or conceiving again would be difficult. Mother offered no response, only urgently asking about the second young miss. The physician assured her the second miss would bear no facial scars, and her nightmares stemmed merely from emotional distress. She needed companionship, not provocation. Mother thanked him repeatedly before escorting him out. As she stepped outside, I overheard her instructing the maidservant. Don't let the prince know about my situation. Just ensure he stays by the second miss side. Only when the room fell silent did I slowly rise. My entire body ached, from my heart to my limbs, the pain nearly killing me. Grasping the wall, I struggled to the doorway, determined to leave now. But as I opened the door, I met my mother's furious gaze. Smack! She struck me across the face, knocking me to the floor. You unlucky star. When will you ever stop bringing misfortune upon us? My body was utterly weak. The fall left me without the strength to rise. My ears rang with my mother's incessant curses. Having lived through this since childhood, I had long grown numb, all because my eldest brother died the day I was born. And my father suffered severe injuries that left him with lasting health issues. So mother blamed me for all this misfortune. I think you did this on purpose. Pregnant and still causing trouble. Miscarrying at your maternal home, you must want our whole family to suffer with you, don't you? I remembered the wet nurse who raised me saying that a woman miscarrying at her mother's home was a terrible omen. But if I had a choice, did she think I'd want this? Forget returning to this family, I never even wanted to be born. Mother, what are you doing? Sister is still ill. A figure flashed by. It was my younger brother, Fong Hung. Fong Hung had been sent by grandfather to study under a reclusive master since childhood, making him quite different from the rest of the Fong family, though 2 years younger than me. At 15 he was already much taller, his face stern. He helped me up, looking every inch the man. Sister, go rest in bed. I gathered my wits, then pulled my hand from his grasp. Fong Hung was one of the few in the Fong family who treated me kindly. Yet I kept my distance from him. The shadow cast since childhood made me fear I truly was that ill-mannered person. I dreaded bringing bad luck to this one brother who held any familial affection for me. Step by step, I struggled out the door. Fong Hung tried to follow, but mother stopped him. Why chase after her? Why not use that time to visit your second sister instead? There are already too many people at second sister's side. I couldn't tell if it was my imagination, but I sensed Fong Hung was beginning to carry an air of authority. He was the sole heir, destined to become the family head. I wondered if my elder brother, who had met such a tragic end, were still alive. Would he have been like this too? I'd heard that before the age of 7, he was practically a child prodigy. No peer in the capital could match his brilliance. If he were still alive, might everything have been different? I too could have been a cherished daughter, like Fong Yunqing, with a husband who loved and cherished me, parents who protected and indulged me. Mother, you're being too harsh. Third sister is your daughter too. She's nothing but a disaster. If your grandmother hadn't insisted on keeping her back then, I would have sent her away long ago. Ever since she arrived, our household hasn't known a single day of peace. The quarrel raged behind me, but my ears buzzed and my vision blurred. My body swayed. Then suddenly someone caught me. Wan Qing, this prince will escort you back to the mansion first. On the way back to the prince's residence, Zhou Yu hesitated, words on the tip of his tongue. He didn't speak, and I didn't ask. Finally, unable to hold back, Zhou Yu spoke. Wan Qing, your sister. She's already 2 months pregnant. My heart felt as if it had been wrenched violently. Wan Qing, that is the only bloodline of my 5th brother. I cannot turn a blind eye. Your Highness, you only remember now that it was your 5th brother's child. When you held Fong Yunqing just now, did you think of your 5th brother, whose body hasn't even cooled yet? Fong Wan Qing, Zhou Yu was a prince who had ever dared speak to him like this. Besides, I had never once defied Zhou Yu. In his eyes, I was gentle as water, yielding to him in every way. Wan Qing, I know you grieve for our child, But we are still young, we can have more. Yet your sister, the child we lost tonight, will never return. Tonight's events taught me a harsh truth. I am not Prince Joya's true love, so my child holds less value than Fong Yongqing's. Even if that child wasn't his own, he would cherish it. But what about my child? Wan Qing, be good. Your sister entering the mansion won't affect your position as princess consort. I promise you. The position of crown prince belongs only to our child. No one can change that. But my child is gone, I suddenly shouted. And Zhou Yu showed a rare flicker of panic. Truthfully, aside from our wedding night, we hadn't shared a bed at all this past month. Zhou Yu had been sleeping in his study every night. And now, it was even more impossible for me to share a bed with him. I glared at Zhou Yu. Yet tears fell in heavy drops. Even if your highness has 100 or 1,000 children in the future, none of them will be his. My trembling hand drifted to my belly. Why was this child so foolish? With so many good families in the world, why did he choose me? Wan Qing. Calm yourself. You need proper rest now. How can your highness remain so composed? I sneered coldly. True. Since your highness doesn't love him, it's better he's gone. If there's no love, why bring him into this world? My last words were barely audible. More like a whisper to myself. As if thinking of myself. I felt it was better this child had left. Otherwise, coming into this world would only mean suffering. Zhou Yu seemed moved. He reached out to embrace me. But suddenly, the sound of hooves echoed outside the carriage. Your Highness. Trouble at the Fong residence. Bandits have just infiltrated and abducted the second young miss. What? Zhou Yu rose to leave the carriage, but I grabbed his arm. Thieves can be reported to the patrols and authorities. What will your highness do? Yet Zhou Yu paid me no heed. He sealed my acupoints, telling me to sleep soundly, then departed. From the sounds, Zhou Yu must have withdrawn all his personal guards, leaving only the coachman and a maid. Soon after, I heard the sounds of fighting outside the carriage. Then everything went black, and I lost consciousness. Fong Wanqing. Your elder sister bears a child while widowed. Her fate is bitter, this prince cannot abandon her. Fong Wanqing. Yuner is your sister. She is frail and sickly. Is there nothing you can yield to her? Fong Wanqing. Even if you resemble Yuner, you will never truly be her. Throughout my unconsciousness, I was plagued by nightmares. In them, I seemed to foresee the days to come. Joya's voice haunted my ears like a demonic chant, refusing to fade. I had no sense of how long I lay unconscious until sounds gradually grew clearer. They weren't Zhou Yes, they belonged to bandits and Fong Yunqing. Lying on the cold floor, I faintly heard Fong Yunqing claim she was Zhou Yes' wife. She warned that if anyone harmed her, Zhou Yu would never let them off. The thief roared with laughter. I hear the Fong family has 2 daughters, one with a phoenix destiny, the other a disaster star. So tell me, which one is the disaster star? Fong Yunqing latched onto the words disaster star, hastily arguing that the one lying in the inner room was the true disaster star. But I caught the thief's mention of phoenix destiny. Why had I never heard of this before? Neither I nor Fong Yunqing had ever uttered a word about this person of the phoenix destiny. Given Fong Yunqing's temperament, if she knew she was the phoenix-born, she would surely be even more arrogant. Clearly, she didn't know. Just then, I heard someone outside announce, "Boss, Prince Yes men have surrounded us." The voices inside fell silent for a moment, followed by an order. "Wake the woman in the inner room. We're going to meet His Highness Prince Yu." When Fong Yunqing and I were brought to the cliff's edge, dawn was just breaking, the mountain wind bitingly cold, piercing me to the bone. Zhou Yu stood with his men not far off, but he dared not approach. For Fong Yunqing and I were bound hand and foot, with a long sword before us and the sheer drop behind. The slightest movement would leave us nothing but scattered bones. "Your Highness Prince Yu, it's been a long time." Zhou Yes' face darkened. Zhou Heng's men. Zhou Heng was the 5th prince. At the mention of Zhou Heng's name, the bandit's face twisted with fury. Bah! You worthless dog. You have no right to speak the prince's name. The bandit's voice trembled with rage. The prince sought only a quiet life. Never did he expect to fall at the hands of you two vile creatures. As he spoke, his sword lunged forward. Standing close by, I saw blood already trickling down Fang Yongqing's neck. She sobbed uncontrollably. Your Highness. Save me, Your Highness. Your Highness Prince Yu. Today I offer you a choice. Only one of them can live. Will you choose this shameless widow, or your legally wedded wife? I saw Zhou Yu glance at me first, but before he could speak, carriages from the Fang residence arrived behind him. Fang Hun came with his parents. Your Highness. Mother knelt before Zhou Yu with a thud. Your Highness. Please save Yuner. Save her. Her words reached my ears just as a gust of wind blew past, stinging my eyes. Fang Hun glanced at me, then fixed his gaze on the bandit. We've surrounded this place. Release my two sisters now, or none of you will live. But the bandit seemed uninterested in others, staring only at Zhou Yu, awaiting his decision. Mother wailed on. Your Highness. Yuner is carrying a child. She mustn't be harmed. Your Highness. Sure enough. Zhou Yu's expression shifted slightly. He then pointed at Fang Yunqing. Release her. A strange smile flashed across the bandit's face. He didn't honor his promise to free her. Instead, he turned to me. Well, young lady, I'm afraid I can't help it. With that, he swung his long arm. My hands and feet bound. I couldn't move. I felt only a shove. Then my body plunged toward the cliff's edge. I died, falling from the cliff. Blood splattered on the spot. Pitiful. My laughable life ended without even a shred of dignity in death. Yet, in that instant of falling, I seemed to see Fang Heng and Zhou Yu both rushing toward me. They were shouting something, but all I seemed to hear was Fang Heng calling me sister. Silly little brother. I truly wanted to love him the way other sisters love their brothers, but I dared not. 7 days later. It was the 15th day of the 7th month, the Mid-Autumn Festival. As the full moon hung high in the sky, I stood outside the memorial hall, indifferent to Zhou Yu's pretentious display. I heard that group had intended a desperate, mutually destructive end that neither Fang Yunqing nor I would survive. But after I died, Zhou Yu, unburdened by restraint, simply eliminated them. The princess consort of Yu was captured by rebels and tragically fell to her death from a cliff. Even more tragic was the news that she was carrying the young prince when she perished. The imperial diviner's prophecy decreed that my ill-fated destiny barred me from the Imperia. El Mausoleum. Thus, a hastily erected grave was dug on a barren mountain. This makeshift memorial hall lacks even a coffin. Yet it hasn't deterred officials from coming to pay their respects. They witness Zhou Yu daily, consumed by grief, his once majestic bearing utterly shattered. Every mourner was moved to tears. Yet I alone found it amusing. So it seems I was merely a pawn in his schemes in life. And even in death, I remain one. Not even my poor child was spared. To secure the reputation of a virtuous prince, he has truly gone to extremes. Your Highness, if you continue like this, your health will fail. Fang Yunqing wept, her tears like pear blossoms, clinging tightly to Zhou Yu's embrace. Your Highness, have you forsaken Yunqing? Though my sister is gone, she loved you so deeply. If she knew, she would surely wish for you to begin anew. Wan Qing. Zhou Yu murmured my name. After a long moment, he lowered his gaze to Fang Yunqing, then traced her eyebrows and eyes with his fingers. What did you all call her when she was little? What? Fang Yunqing didn't understand Zhou Yu's meaning, but he chuckled softly. I remember her saying her grandparents often called her Wan Wan before they passed. His voice was soft, as if speaking to Fang Yunqing, yet also like a whisper to himself. Fang Yunqing didn't grasp his meaning, but I understood. When grandfather and grandmother were alive, they were more like a strict father and a kind mother to me. I'd been punished for avoiding grandfather's lessons, and I'd snuggled into grandmother's embrace, whining that Wanwan's hands hurt and she didn't want to practice calligraphy. But all that came to an abrupt end when I was 8. My fortune was too thin. I couldn't even bear the love of grandfather and grandmother. Later, whenever my mother cursed me as a disaster star, I even wondered if my grandparents would still be alive if I hadn't existed. After they passed away, no one called me Wanwan anymore. Grandmother once said our Wanwan was the finest girl, destined to marry the best young man in the world. Want revenge? A man's voice from behind snapped me back to reality. I turned. Why are you here? You're just an undeveloped little spirit. Didn't you fear being snatched and eaten when you ran out like this? The day I fell to my death, I was trapped because my obsession hadn't dissipated. It was the spirit of this locust tree before me who helped me escape. The lotus pond at the Fong residence was a place I often visited as a child. There truly was an old locust tree by its shore. The tree spirit said he knew me, that he had watched me grow up. He claimed 1,000 years of cultivation granted him the power to guide me away. This would allow him to accumulate merit while granting me liberation. But how could I leave when my resentment and rage remained unresolved? The spirit studied me for a long moment before offering 2 choices. First, he could send me directly to reincarnation. But this required me to let go of all hatred and attachments, erasing every memory of my past life. The second was to return me as a mortal with a fresh identity for 3 months, during which he would aid my vengeance. The condition was our cooperation, as he needed to help Crown Prince Zhou Jin ascend the throne smoothly. I knew Zhou Jin's rival was Zhou Yu. Having lived with Zhou Yu for years, I might not excel in other areas, but when it came to understanding him, no one could match my knowledge. I chose the latter without a moment's hesitation. Yet the tree spirit insisted I consider carefully, for the second path held immense peril. Only 3 months once the time was up. I must depart regardless of the outcome. Moreover, having lingered too long in the mortal realm, whether I could enter reincarnation would depend entirely on fate. In other words, the second path was essentially a dead end. I turned to look at the spirit hall, at the 2 figures embracing. A dead end. Am already dead, aren't I? What more is there to fear? But it's not worth it. You must understand, if you fail to enter the cycle of reincarnation, at best you'll become a wandering spirit. At worst your soul will vanish entirely. After that, this world will never know. My gaze remained fixed on those 2 figures. My hands clenched into fists. I only want revenge. At any cost. I was reborn as the heiress of Medicine King Valley. My appearance unchanged. My status transformed. The Valley Master himself was a tree spirit incarnate. He spent his days healing the sick, aiding cultivation, and thus Medicine King Valley's reputation spread far and wide. This time, we were summoned to the Imperial Palace to treat the gravely wounded Crown Prince. Word had it Crown Prince Zhou Jin had been attacked during a journey and now hung by a thread. Luo Huai further informed me the prince's injury and my own murder occurred on the same day. Zhou Yu had already gathered evidence proving the assassins targeting the prince and those who harmed me were one and the same group. I sneered coldly. It wasn't the 5th prince at all. They were undoubtedly Zhou Yu's men. He attempted to assassinate His Highness the Crown Prince, and when the plot was uncovered, he simply pinned the blame on the dead. As we spoke, we reached the palace gates. After greeting the attending eunuch, we encountered Zhou Yu and Fong Yunqing Hiden. The eunuch introduced them. These 2 are the physicians summoned to treat His Highness the Crown Prince Luo Huai, Master of Medicine Valley, and his eldest daughter, Luo Wan. Zhou Yu looked thinner, his complexion somewhat pale. Fong Yunqing beside him wore plain white robes. A gust of wind lifted the hem of her skirt, revealing a pink underskirt beneath. Clearly, she hadn't mourned my sister's passing much. After exchanging greetings, we intended to follow the eunuch further. Yet as we passed Zhou Yu, he suddenly called out, "Wait." Zhou Yu's gaze fixed on my face, veiled and head slightly bowed. I neither met his eyes nor spoke. Luo Huai stepped forward to shield me. Your Highness, this is my daughter's first visit to the palace. She's a bit shy. Yet Zhou Yu asked, his voice slightly trembling, is this Wan Qing? My hands clenched tighter within my sleeves, though my expression remained composed. Your Highness has mistaken me for someone else. This humble maiden bears the surname Luo, with the single character Wan. No, you are Wan Qing. You are. Seeing this, Fang Yunqing hurried forward to restrain Zhou Yu. Your Highness, please calm down. This is the eldest daughter of the Medicine King Valley. She is not Wan Qing. Wan Qing is dead. Shut up. Zhou Yu, eyes red, shoved Fang Yunqing aside. Mention Wan Qing one more time, and I'll make sure you die first. I lifted my gaze to see several officials passing by the palace gate, and a cold smile involuntarily touched my lips. So Zhou Yu was this skilled at putting on a show. Sure enough, upon hearing Zhou Yu's words, sorrowful expressions appeared on those officials' faces. I thought, Zhou Yu's good reputation would surely gain another boost from this. Finally, an eunuch intervened, explaining that the princess consort had recently passed away, leaving His Highness Prince Zhou consumed by grief. He hoped I would be understanding. I nodded. His Highness and the princess consort were truly a harmonious pair. Even commoners like myself have heard of their devotion. Zhou Yu's eyes fixed on me intently. I offered him a gentle smile, my eyes brimming with affection. After that day, Luo Huai and I took temporary residence in the Eastern Palace. Others assumed the Crown Prince's injuries were severe and incurable, which was why they had summoned the renowned Valley Master of Medicine Valley. But had I not witnessed it myself, I wouldn't have believed that within just 3 days, Zhou Jin had recovered 60 to 70%. After all, when I first saw him, he was still unconscious, and all the imperial physicians were at a loss after Luo Huai's diagnosis. However, he now only needed rest and recuperation. Yet due to Zhou Jin's special status, news of his recovery wasn't shared publicly. It was only said that his life was no longer in immediate danger, though all visitors were still declined, to avoid complications. Even the palace maids weren't allowed near him. Thus, the task of caring for Zhou Jin fell to me. One day, as I was arranging fruit on a platter, Luo Huai entered from outside. Girl, I hear Prince Yu has been inquiring about you constantly lately. I showed no surprise. He's always persistent with prey he hasn't yet secured. Not surprising. Luo Huai sipped his tea. By the way, I've delivered all the messages you asked me to pass on to the Crown Prince discreetly. But there seems to be a problem. What happened? Before the message even reached him, the Crown Prince had already made his move. In just a few days, he's crushed Prince Yu pretty badly. I came to ask if you still need me to send more intelligence. I was stunned. Zhou Jin had only been awake for 7 days, yet had already begun targeting Zhou Yu so swiftly. It's not just Prince Yu. The Fong family has also been dealt a heavy blow by the Crown Prince. The Fong family and Prince Zhou Yu have always been aligned, so their joint downfall isn't surprising. Judging by the results, Zhou Jin must have held leverage over them for quite some time. It's unclear why he waited until now to act. Young lady, what are your next steps? Hearing this, the faces of several people flashed before my eyes. Prince Zhou Yu, Fang Yunqing, and his parents, Lord and Lady Fong. A cluster of plump, round grapes rested in my palm. I slowly closed my hand around them. Then, I'll present them with the very thing they crave most. And then, crush it mercilessly. My tone was calm and detached, yet my grip tightened with brutal force. Purpler juice seeped through my fingers, dripping down in a sinister, alluring rhythm. Luo Huai observed me for a moment before chuckling softly. You're quite the promising prospect. Had you married the Crown Prince back then, I imagine you two would have made a remarkably well-suited couple. I froze, then felt utterly speechless. Don't let others overhear such talk. It wouldn't be good for the Crown Prince, nor for us. With that, I picked up the food box, intending to deliver medicine to Zhou Jin. At the study door, I overheard guards reporting to Zhou Jin about Zhou Yu. They didn't even bother to hide their conversation from me. I was somewhat surprised. Every time I came here, I'd inevitably hear news about Zhou Yu, without exception. Each report painted him in a worse light than the last. Zhou Jin held military power, while Zhou Yu did not. Previously, Zhou Jin had simply refrained from acting against him. Now that Zhou Jin was genuinely angered, Zhou Yu found himself unable to withstand the pressure. Noticing my entrance, Zhou Jin's face softened into a smile. Miss Luo delivers medicine 3 times a day. Now, even the sound of your footsteps makes this prince tremble. Zhou Jin's countenance was far gentler than Zhou Yu's. He smiled often, and his clear eyes didn't match the ruthless, decisive reputation he carried outside. Instead, he resembled a refined scholar from a play. I placed the medicine bowl on the desk and sighed softly at the mountain of official documents piled there. Your Highness is recovering well, but your health still requires careful tending. Strangely enough, though both Zhou Jin and I resided in the capital, we had never formally met. As a child, I accompanied my grandfather to the palace, catching only a distant glimpse of him then. After that, I rarely entered the palace. On the rare occasions I did, I seldom encountered him. He wasn't even present at my wedding to Zhou Yu. I heard had been dispatched at the last minute to manage flood control, only to suffer severe injuries after a month away. Yet one must admit the emperor possesses excellent judgment. Zhou Jin is exceptionally capable, the most outstanding among the princes. Moreover, his mother is the emperor's childhood sweetheart and first empress, endowed with the highest nobility. His only flaw, however, is his overly tender heart. Even knowing Zhou Yu's relentless ambition, Zhou Jin only restrained him covertly, never striking a decisive blow. It seemed that during Zhou Jin's recent trip to Jiangnan, Zhou Yu had secretly won over numerous officials, which had finally provoked Zhou Jin. Returning from the study to my quarters, Luo Huai brought me news. He said Zhou Yu had begun his counterattack. After all these years, the power he had amassed was not to be underestimated. If this counterattack succeeded, it would likely spell trouble for Zhou Jin as well. In that case, we must move first to bring Zhou Yu down. Luo Huai nodded. He possesses a list of spies and a secret guard's identification token. Securing those would make our task twice as effective with half the effort. A memory of the hidden compartment in Zhou Yu's study suddenly flashed through my mind. Edit Luo Huai. Find a way to get me into Prince Yu's residence. Leave the rest to me. That's easily done. Just slip him some medicine. Luo Huai acted swiftly. By the next day, Zhou Yu had fallen ill and missed the morning court session. Shortly after, Luo Huai received an imperial decree stating that Prince Yu was gravely ill and requesting our presence to examine him, with the crown prince to attend to in the palace. Luo Huai returned after prescribing medicine, leaving me alone to care for Zhou Yu, though maids usually attended to him. Every time I brought medicine, I felt Zhou Yu's gaze upon me. It was the look of one determined to secure his prey, a look I knew all too well. I no longer wore a veil, and everyone had grown accustomed to my mere resemblance to the late Fang Wanqing. Thank you for your trouble these past days, Miss Luo. My expression turned bashful. If your highness doesn't mind, you may call me Wan Wan. Wan Wan. I noticed Zhou Yu's expression shift slightly, but he quickly composed himself. He nodded. Very well, Wan Wan. Zhou Yu reached out and took my wrist, his thumb gently tracing the skin there. It seemed like mere teasing, but I knew he was testing me. When I fell into the water all those years ago, a scar remained on my left wrist. But he didn't know this body was reshaped by Luo Huai. Where would the scar be, whether it was illusion or not? When he confirmed the absence of that scar, I thought I saw disappointment flicker across Zhou Yu's face. I stayed at the Yu Prince's residence for several days, and Zhou Yu catered to my every whim. The study, once accessible only to me, now allowed entry only to me. I finally seized an opportunity to obtain the roster, leaving only the token at Zhou's waist still out of my grasp. One evening, as I stood alone by the lotus pond enjoying the breeze, Zhou embraced me from behind. Wan, stop tormenting this prince. They'll grant you the title of consort, just yield to me. He lowered his head to kiss me. I turned my face away, forcing down the nausea rising in my chest. Instead, I wrapped my arms around his waist. But what about Miss Fong? Her status as a secondary consort is already an elevation. After spending several days with him, I realized Zhou had merely been using Fong Yunqing all along. It seemed he knew one of the Fong family's daughters bore the phoenix destiny. With me dead, Fong Yunqing was the only one left. Moreover, Fong Yunqing's arrogant and loud personality had truly grown tiresome to Zhou. Zhou tried to kiss me again. My hands rested on his waist as I playfully dodged his lips while searching his belt. Just as my fingers brushed the token, I spotted Fong Yunqing approaching from afar. Her face twisted into a vicious scowl. You shameless slut. Seducing men right under my nose. How dare you? Fong Yunqing lunged to strike me, only to be restrained by Zhou. What nonsense is this? I adopted a pitiful expression. What are you doing? Sister Yunqing, His Highness and I, we simply couldn't help ourselves. I was returning her own words to her. You slut. I'll tear your face off. Your Highness. Save me. Ever since ID gotten close to Zhou again, ID always addressed him as Your Highness. Now that I called him Your Highness, his expression changed instantly. He pulled me into his arms. Wan, don't be afraid. I won't let her bully you anymore. Again. What a bitch. He toyed with me when I was alive, and now that I'm dead, he suddenly acts so devoted. But I had no time to dwell on it. While Zhou held me, I swiftly swapped the token at his waist with a similar one. Seeing Zhou shielding me, Fong Yunqing lunged forward like a madwoman. Zhou clutched me tightly against his chest and kicked Fong Yunqing flying with a single blow. I heard Fong Yunqing's agonized scream as he plummeted into the lotus pond. Zhou seemed equally taken aback and immediately ordered someone to retrieve him. Though had grown weary of Fong Yunqing, he still needed the Fong family's influence and Fong Yunqing's legendary destiny as the Phoenix's chosen. Zhou remained concerned and tried to approach the lotus pond, but the steward stopped him. Your Highness suffers from seasickness. This old servant will handle it. The steward then turned to me. Miss, please help His Highness away from here. Being near water makes His Highness uncomfortable. Suffers from seasickness. My heart jolted violently. He was the one who saved me when I drowned all those years ago. How could he suffer from seasickness? I recalled that day. After falling into the water, I thought I was going to die. In my muddled state, I saw a figure clad in black brocade robes pull me to safety. When I awoke, I saw Zhou, soaked to the bone, clad entirely in black. I was 14 then, and Zhou was 19. Both of us were of marriageable age. If word of this had spread, it would have damaged my reputation. Precisely because of this, Zhou said he would take responsibility for me, so he sought the emperor's permission to marry me. But just now the steward said he gets seasick. How could he get seasick? My head throbbed violently, as if some buried memory was struggling to break free. Back then, suddenly, I remembered clearly. When that person carried me toward the shore, his left wrist had also been cut, seemingly in the same spot as mine. I reached out to touch Zhou's wrist. It was perfectly smooth. But why had I had no recollection of these events before? I had never doubted Zhou's rescue of me. Never once. But now, while I was still pondering, Fong Yunqing was brought ashore. I saw traces of blood still on her dress and remembered the child I had lost. This scene felt strangely familiar, yet profoundly different. Fong Yunqing wasn't me. If something happened to her, her parents would demand justice. Sure enough, that very night, the Fong family's case reached the emperor. The matter escalated, becoming deeply unsightly. Zhou Yu still protected me, fearing I might be implicated. He told me to return to the palace first, promising to fetch me once had handled the situation. I sneered inwardly. Fetch me? That opportunity was likely gone. Returning to the Eastern Palace, only Luo Huai remained in the study. Got it. I handed him the register and token, then glanced around. Where is His Highness the Crown Prince? Luo Huai said nothing. His gaze fixed on a painting resting on the desk. I looked over. It depicted a woman's silhouette, snow white against crimson robes, standing beneath a plum tree. It should have been a scene of exquisite beauty, yet it carried a touch of desolation. Is this His Highness the Crown Prince's beloved? Luo Huai didn't answer me, but instead told me something else. He said Zhou Jin had recently been frequently meeting with high monks or Taoist masters. No one knew exactly what he was up to, but his behavior was indeed highly unusual. I pondered for a moment. I've read many accounts of emperors seeking elixirs of immortality in books. Could it be? Luo Huai sighed deeply, then rose. Girl, I'll take you somewhere. Luo Huai and I rode out of the city that very night. We finally halted at a desolate mountain as the sky began to lighten. Gazing into the distance, I froze in shock. There lay my own tomb, and standing before it was none other than Zhou Jin. The truth was, Fang Yunqing and the imperial preceptor had colluded, claiming my fate was ill-omened and my death untimely. They argued that burying someone like me in the imperial mausoleum would bring misfortune to the nation. The emperor, naturally fearful, ordered the imperial preceptor to find a new, auspicious site for my burial. The imperial preceptor and Fang Yunqing were cut from the same cloth. They would never help me find a genuine feng shui treasure spot. But Luo Huai said someone must have secretly aided me, though this place appeared desolate on the surface. Its feng shui was truly excellent. When my time limit ended, I would depart from here, and it would surely go smoothly. Listening to Luo Huai's words, I watched Zhou Jin's retreating figure. My heart clutched painfully by something. I approached Zhou Jin step by step, as if anticipating my arrival. He did not turn around, only speaking calmly. On the day you were murdered, I too was targeted. This place was chosen by Fang Heng. Fang Heng. I heard that after my burial, he voluntarily severed ties with the Fang family, returned to his sect, and never descended the mountain again. Zhou Jin's voice remained calm throughout. Finally, he turned to face me, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Did you enjoy your time at the Yu Prince's mansion? I froze, realizing he must be referring to last night's events. I considered avenging you directly, but thought it would be more satisfying if you did it yourself. Suddenly it dawned on me everything had gone smoothly at the Yu Prince's mansion because Zhou Jin had been secretly aiding me all along. So many questions swirled in my mind, yet my thoughts were tangled beyond words. Zhou Jin read my confusion. Wan, come with me. I want to show you something. Zhou Jin led me outside the palace to the Crown Prince's residence. The moment I entered the study, I froze. This room was filled entirely with portraits of me. From childhood to adulthood, every stage of my life was captured, even one wearing a wedding gown. Zhou Jin walked over, gently caressing each painting. When he reached the portrait in the wedding gown, he paused. If I hadn't indulged you back then, letting you choose the one you loved, would you still be well now? Something seemed to clog my throat, making me feel terribly uneasy. The one Zhou Jin loved was me, but why had I never known? The day Father Emperor arranged your marriage to Zhou Yu, I didn't sleep a wink. I painted this portrait, thinking, with your lovely features, you'd look absolutely beautiful in a wedding gown. Zhou Jin's left hand kept lightly caressing the portrait. But suddenly I noticed a scar on his wrist. A fleeting image flashed through my mind. I hurried over and pulled his wrist toward me. How did you get that? Zhou Jin paused before speaking. Wan, how much do you remember about the incident when you fell into the water? After falling into the water that year, I fell gravely ill. When I awoke, much of my memory had faded. Everyone else remained silent about the incident. I always assumed Zhou had deliberately suppressed it to protect my reputation. But now it seems that wasn't the case. Luo Huai said I was given large doses of memory-altering drugs. Yet when he mentioned it, I searched my mind and didn't feel I'd forgotten anything. Now, it seems I truly have forgotten something or someone of great importance. My mind is in turmoil. All these years, I believed it was Zhou who saved me. Yet today I discover not only was it not Zhou, but that person was actually Zhou Jin. My voice trembling, I asked, after I fell into the water, "Was it Your Highness who saved me? You were already 14 then. If word got out, it would have affected you. So I had one of your maids take you away. I intended to ask your wishes once things settled. If you'd agreed, I would have petitioned the emperor for an arranged marriage. But I was swamped with state affairs and had to suppress the news hastily. By the time I returned to the capital, you'd already been betrothed to Zhou. That night, we talked until late. From my mischievous childhood days to the time before my wedding. He knew every detail of my growth, even things I myself had forgotten." Zhou Jin remembered. His voice was gentle, and his recounting of those events was soothing. Unconsciously, I felt my heart being soothed. Luo Huai even teased me, saying, "So you can smile after all." Yet after that severe illness, my childhood memories grew hazy, and I had no recollection of Zhou Jin. But as he recounted those events, I felt an unexpected familiarity. It turned out Zhou Jin's teacher was an old friend of my grandfather. In my youth, grandfather often took me to a tea house where he and a few friends would sip tea and chat, while I played alone in the backyard. That was how I met Zhou Jin. But I was only 5 or 6 then, while Zhou Jin was 6 years older than me. So naturally he remembered those days better. About a year later, Zhou Jin began taking charge of court affairs, and we never saw each other again. Later, when my grandparents passed away one after the other, I heard he came to pay his respects. But at that time, Mother Fong wouldn't let me go to the front hall to see guests. So I missed him. Actually, before my grandfather passed, he wrote Zhou Jin a letter, asking him to secretly watch over me. Because of that, Zhou Jin often kept an eye on me. Later, that little girl he knew from childhood slowly found her way into his heart. My heart stirred once more. But I dared not respond. I asked Zhou Jin when he had recognized me. He replied that recognition wasn't necessary, had known it was me from the very beginning. The little habits I had as a child hadn't changed. When nervous, I'd unconsciously smooth my hair. When writing, I'd still bite the pen. Especially during my time in the Eastern Palace, I rarely wore a veil, and many of my expressions confirmed to Zhou Jin that it was indeed me. How ironic indeed. After knowing Zhou for so many years, even spending a month as husband and wife, he could only identify me by that scar. But I couldn't understand if Zhou clearly loved Fong Yunqing. Why did he seek to marry me? Later, Luo Huai suggested it must have been because of our fated destiny. Zhou knew early on that the Fong family had a daughter destined to be the phoenix. Everyone knew I was a disaster star. So naturally, the phoenix was Fong Yunqing. Zhou feared marrying Fong Yunqing directly would reveal his ambitions. So he took a roundabout route, marrying me first, then orchestrating the 5th prince's death, and finally marrying Fong Yunqing. This way, by marrying both, at least one would be the phoenix. Hearing Luo Huai's analysis, I realized how utterly blind I'd been before. After revealing his identity, Zhou Jin never once inquired about Luo Huai or my origins. Had known Luo Huai for ages, surely he knew Luo Huai wasn't ordinary. Otherwise, why would he seek enlightenment through Buddhist teachings? I recalled how the study in the Eastern Palace was always dimly lit whenever I visited. Now I realized he must have suspected, even then fearing I couldn't bear the light. He thought I was a lingering spirit. Noticing my unease, Zhou Jin reached out and tugged my sleeve. Wan, don't overthink it. You are Wan. No matter what form you take, you'll always be you. After Wed laid everything bare, Zhou Jin stopped seeking out high monks or Taoist masters. Each day, he simply joined us in discussing how to bring Zhou to justice and punish the remaining remnants. Sometimes, when he went out to observe the people's conditions, he would take me and Luo Huai along. I still remember one time eating noodles at a small stall. The stall owner, an elderly woman, remarked that Luo Huai was truly blessed to have such a beautiful daughter and a handsome son-in-law. I was about to explain when Zhou Jin clasped my hand and handed the vendor a large piece of silver. Well, take your blessing, he said. May our marriage be harmonious and blessed with children and grandchildren. His eyes crinkled with laughter as he spoke. Yet I felt a sharp pang of sorrow. My time is running out. Luo Huai said my 100-day memorial would be the perfect moment to leave. I calculated less than a month remains. I tried to speak plainly with Zhou Jin, but he always cut me off. The last time, he simply held me and begged, pleading for me not to be so heartless, not to shatter his dreams. Never before had I wanted to strangle Zhou so badly. Never before had I felt such regret. I even regretted returning to seek revenge. It would have been better to just leave then, rather than have Zhou Jin and I gain only to lose everything. My hatred for Zhou grew even stronger. If he hadn't stolen everything that should have belonged to Zhou Jin and me, how could we have suffered so terribly? Using what little time I had left, I helped Zhou Jin eliminate many of Zhou Ye's henchmen. Truthfully, Zhou Jin could have handled these matters himself, but I wanted to do as much for him as possible. During the double ninth festival ancestor worship, Zhou Yuho had been silent for so long reappeared before everyone. Perhaps hearing how much Zhou Jin now favored me, his first act upon entering the palace was to seek me out. He was now emaciated beyond recognition, not only due to Zhou Jin's relentless attacks, but also because of the substances ID secretly added to his daily medicine back in the prince's mansion. It wouldn't kill him, but would slowly drain his vitality. Luo Huai even mentioned the medicine caused hallucinations, so I heard he now often clung to Fang Yunqing, calling out Wan. Truly, fortune turns like the wheel of time. Wan. I wish to speak with you alone. Zhou Ye's eyes fixed on me, while Zhou Jin shielded me behind him just as Zhou Yu had once shielded Fang Yunqing. Witnessing this scene only deepened my hatred for Zhou Yu. Had it not been for him, Zhou Jin and I could have been truly happy, couldn't we? Seeing Zhou Jin and me like this, Zhou Yu glared at me with bloodshot eyes. Wan, you promised to wait for me to come for you. My expression remained calm. Your Highness, Prince Yu, you really have a sense of humor. That was your own promise. I never said I'd wait for you. Zhou Ye's face darkened. He turned to Zhou Jin. Is my royal brother trying to steal her from me? Before Zhou Jin could respond, I stepped forward and slipped my arm through his. What are you saying? Your Highness, the crown prince is your elder brother. Shall you yield to him? Besides, His Highness is still recovering from his injuries. I can't just abandon him, can I? What do you say? Your Highness. The title Your Highness shattered Zhou Ye's mental defenses. He stared at me, yet his eyes held a hollow emptiness. Finally, he turned and walked away, muttering under his breath as he left. You're not her. She wouldn't hurt me like this. She wouldn't. But before he could take a few steps, a thud echoed as Zhou Yu collapsed to the ground. 10 days remained until my 100-day memorial. Luo Huai had specifically warned me that this period was when I was most vulnerable. He insisted nothing could go wrong, lest any harm come to me. Zhou Jin was even more cautious, dreading the slightest mishap. Yet despite all this, disaster struck. On the emperor's birthday, Zhou Yu colluded with foreign enemies to stage a palace coup. Worried for me, Zhou Jin had Luo Huai escort me away first. But we hadn't gone far before being surrounded. Fang Yunqing even hurled a full bottle of talisman water at us. Fang Wanqing, I care not what demonic arts you use to return to this world today, I'll scatter your soul to the winds. Sure enough, I spotted the imperial sage standing behind her. Luo Huai couldn't normally wield magic, but in this critical moment, he couldn't afford to hesitate. He shielded me from most of the damage. But I'd been extremely weak these past days. The talisman water on my body pushed me past my limits. I pulled at Luo Huai's sleeve. "Father, don't worry about me. You must go." That single word, "father," made Luo Huai's eyes redden. "Little one, you called me father. I cannot abandon you now." With that, he raised his hand to cast a spell. I tried to stop him, but it was too late. Luo Huai's magic was profound, but to attain enlightenment swiftly, had sworn never to use it in the mortal realm. Now that had broken that vow. The magic was rebounding on him. Just as Luo Huai seemed on the verge of collapse, I suddenly heard battle cries outside. "Sister!" It was Fong Hung. At the critical moment, Fong Hung arrived with reinforcements. He rushed into the formation and supported me. "Sister, how are you?" I felt the spiritual energy within me rapidly draining away. Still, I shook my head at Fong Hung, signaling that I was okay. This younger brother of mine was the only family member I truly cared about. Luo Huai told Fong Hung we needed to take me to the cemetery immediately. I couldn't hold on much longer. We had to leave right away. Fong Hung wasted no time trying to carry me away, but my thoughts lingered on Zhou Jin. He was still trapped inside the hall, not yet out of danger. I had promised to make him delicious pastries that evening, but would I not even get to see him one last time? In that critical moment, I felt myself fall into a warm embrace. It was Zhou Jin. He held me tightly. "Ah, Hung, I leave this to you. I'll see her off." Yes. My mind was already clouded. After an unknown length of time, a floral scent suddenly reached my nose. I opened my eyes to find myself at the cemetery. The once desolate place was now blanketed in fiery red spider lilies. The fragrance carried over, and my body instantly regained its strength. Standing at the entrance to the flower field, I felt myself being pulled in before I could even speak. Panic seized me. I clutched Zhou Jin's hand desperately as tears streamed down my face. A magnetic force seemed to pull from deep within the flowers, drawing my body in against my will. Yet I held onto Zhou Jin's hand with all my strength, sobbing uncontrollably. "Wan Wan, Wan Wan, don't go, don't leave." Zhou Jin was crying to a man of his stature, utterly broken by grief. Pfft. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. Only then did I recall Luo Huai's words. This field had bloomed to welcome me, and every moment Zhou Jin lingered here would further damage his body. I couldn't bear it any longer. Finally, with a heavy heart, I pulled away from his grasp. "Zhou Jin, in my next life, I will come to you pure and untainted." "Wan Wan." Zhou Jin tried to run toward me, but the flower bed blocked his path. The flowers before my eyes grew denser and denser, until they completely obscured my vision. The last image I saw of Zhou Jin was him covered in blood from the flowers, desperately trying to push through. Finally, a flash of white light, and everything vanished. I knew I had left completely. Zhou Jin's past life. It had been some time since Wan Wan left, yet she never appeared in my dreams. Luo Huai said it was because she didn't want to cause me too much sorrow. I rebuilt her grave and erected a tombstone. I remembered her saying that if she could choose, she never wanted to be Fong Wanqing. So on the inscription, I wrote "Beloved wife Luo Wan." The character Wan was chosen by my grandfather. She kept that name. The rest was returned to the Fong family. After the palace coup was quelled, my father the emperor fell gravely ill and passed away within a year. I ascended the throne as the new emperor and posthumously honored my late wife Luo Wan as empress. My mother and I agreed I would not expand the harem, and the position of crown prince would go to my younger brother, Zhou Yu. Though still young, he already showed ambitions to rule the realm. As for Zhou Yu and the Fong family, after the palace coup, they deserved death. But I felt death was too easy. I confined them to the Yu prince's residence, visiting them from time to time. Yet each visit, Zhou Yu would boast to me that Wanwan had entered his dreams again. Gradually, his mind grew increasingly deranged. He often mistook Fang Yunqing for Wanwan, clutching her and calling her name over and over, only to realize his mistake and cast her aside. I knew Wanwan had poisoned him with a slow-acting toxin before. Now, by entering his dreams, she was tormenting him from within. One day, Fang Heng reported that Zhou Yu was in a poor state. When I arrived, I learned he had suffered another episode after dreaming of Wanwan. He didn't recognize anyone, only murmuring something indistinctly. Others couldn't make it out, but I understood. He said Wanwan was too heartless, even using her name as a weapon to wound him. That name referred to the names our father, the emperor, had given us brothers. My 19th brother and I were born to our mother, the empress. The characters Jinyu both meant fine jade, embodying our father's high hopes. Yet Zhou Yu and the other brothers were merely jade ornaments. I even heard Zhou Yu say that in his dreams. Wanwan's voice was mocking. She said his character Yu was merely a stone resembling jade, not even worthy of being an ornament. That girl, she really is ruthless. After leaving Prince Ye's residence, Fang Heng mentioned that the Fang family members weren't doing well either. I had the Fang family reside in the courtyard where Wanwan's memorial altar had once stood. Word was that Lady Fang claimed to see Wanwan daily, truth or delusion. It mattered little, for she only grew more unhinged. Lord Fang fell gravely ill, while Fang Yunqing endured daily torment at Zhou Yu's hands. I ordered that they be well cared for, ensuring their health and longevity for years to come. Luo Huai, whose body had suffered backlash from cultivation, chose to remain by my side as grand tutor to help raise my 19th younger brother. Fang Heng often spoke of missing Wanwan, lamenting that though we were together, she alone was absent. Luo Huai would smile and say that fate was predestined in the heavens. If our bond remained unbroken, even in the next life, we would be family once more. Another year passed, and on Wanwan's birthday, I visited her grave. As I drank, I lamented why she never appeared in my dreams. Perhaps it was the wine, but this time, I finally saw Wanwan. I saw her in her wedding gown, and I saw the man marrying her was me. Second life. The side story. My name is Luo Wan, daughter of Luo Huai, the grand tutor of the current dynasty. Perhaps because I was always well behaved and clever, Her Majesty the Empress took a special liking to me. When I was 6, the Empress held me close and asked, Wan, do you like my little brother? I glanced at Crown Prince Zhou Jin practicing calligraphy in the side hall and nodded. Yes. My answer was so loud my mother scolded me playfully. Wan, don't be impolite. In her youth, my mother was the most accomplished scholar in the capital. She had hoped to raise me into a proper lady, but fate had other plans. With an older brother, Luo Yan, a younger brother, Luo Heng, and a father who doted on me, I was spoiled rotten. Whenever I got into trouble and was punished by kneeling in the ancestral hall, Mother would sternly scold them, insisting they must stop indulging me and that this time, I needed a lesson. Yet whenever she saw my reddened knees, she'd scold them again. What's wrong with you? Can't you show Wan any tenderness? While lecturing them, she'd apply ointment to my knees, but I never knelt for even the duration of a single incense stick. Instead, I'd make her weep with worry. And so, I lived without restraint until I turned 15. On the day of my comingafage ceremony, His Majesty and the Empress graced the occasion with their presence. Everyone understood what this signified. Yet after the ceremony, no marriage was immediately arranged. Instead, the Emperor personally came with the Crown Prince to present the betrothal gifts. The imperial court showed utmost sincerity, stating that if Wan refused, they would not press the matter. But how could I refuse? While the Emperor spoke with my father, I secretly called Zhou Jin outside. I tied a red string around his left wrist, then flicked the identical one on my own left wrist. This seals our bond, one said. We'll be together in this life. the last, and the next. Zhou Jin's face flushed slightly. In our time together, I'd always been the more outgoing one. Though Zhou Jin was reserved and not good at expressing himself, I could feel his affection for me. After hearing my words, Zhou Jin gently pulled me into his embrace. Wan, rest assured, in this life, you are the only one for me. The wedding date was set for a year later. On the day of my 16th birthday, I suddenly had a terrifying dream. In the dream, Zhou Jin had become emperor. He wasn't the humble gentleman I knew, but had transformed into a ruthless and terrifying figure. I witnessed him turn against his sixth younger brother, Zhou Yu, eventually imprisoning him. Meanwhile, Zhou Yu clung to a woman day after day, crying out Wan. Her disheveled, filthy appearance hid her features. The nightmare jolted me awake. At first light, I rushed to the Eastern Palace to find Zhou Jin. Instead, I encountered him and Zhou Yu returning from court at the palace gates, without regard for Zhou Yu's presence. I threw myself into Zhou Jin's arms. Zhou Jin froze for a moment before bending down to soothe me. What's wrong? After a long pause, I murmured weakly. I had a nightmare. It scared me to death. As I spoke, I glanced up at Zhou Yu. I'd heard he was betrothed to the eldest daughter of the Fong family, though he didn't seem fond of her. Just days ago, rumors swirled that he was insisting on breaking off the engagement. Zhou Jin ruffled my hair, then turned to Zhou Yu. My apologies. Sixth brother, I shan't play chess with you today. It'll take Wan out to clear her mind. On the day of my wedding to Zhou Jin, Zhou Yu and the Fong family caused a scandal. Rumor had it Zhou Yu, knowing the Fong family's eldest daughter was of poor character, wanted to break off the engagement. But unexpectedly, the Fong family got Zhou Yu drunk and forced the two to consummate the marriage. The scandal erupting on the crown prince's wedding day infuriated the emperor, who stripped both Zhou Yu and the Fong family of their real power. Zhou Yu had never been favored by the emperor, and this only made his situation worse. For some reason, hearing this news gave me an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. Yet Zhou Jin embraced me from behind. My dear Wan, on our wedding night, it's not quite right to be thinking of others, is it? I turned and embraced Zhou Jin. Husband, why would they cause such a scene? Not only did they gain nothing, but they've ruined their chances of ever recovering. Zhou Jin lifted me toward the wedding bed. I don't know, perhaps they did no good deeds in their past lives, so this life brings them no blessings either. He placed me gently on the bed, kissing me as if I were a precious treasure. But my mind lingered on Zhou Yu and the Fong family. You're right. My husband, we must do more good deeds so we can be this happy again in our next life. My dear, stop thinking about it. Your husband is about to get naughty. With that, the gauze curtains fell. In Zhou Jin's embrace, I was filled to the brim with happiness. The end.